being the kind of person that illuminates the darkness of others simply by your presence. You're going to make people feel something that they can't quite explain. And me personally, I would rather be felt than anything else, because I know that that is the true path of spirituality, is that you're going to be felt, whether it's in this life or through time. Remember in Gladiator with Russell Crowe, when they say the things that we do echo in eternity, something like that, right? And what that really means is that our actions are going to be felt, and you actually have an important part to play in the reality that is incomprehensible to you, more so than you could ever possibly comprehend. And the thing is that every action that you take is helping humanity grow closer to God and the transcendental subject at the end of time, or it's actually propelling us further into the depths of hell and degeneracy. About a week or two ago, I made a diagram, and the thumbnail has the diagram. You can go check that out. But I have the diagram, and it has a diagram of consciousness, and there's heavenliness, hellishness, and then earthliness in the middle. But they're all interconnected with consciousness as the main part. And so it's layered upon layered. And consciousness in of itself can have heavenly forms of life being made manifest in of itself, or it could have hellishness in forms of consciousness being made manifest. It all depends on the kinds of choices that we're making and the types of decisions we are either avoiding or not. Because sometimes you need to sit back, and something in your soul is calling you to wait for a minute, right? Something in your soul is calling you to really, maybe don't chase after that thing. Everybody, there's nothing wrong with ambition. I myself I'm a very ambitious person, but I'm not attuned to ambition being my default mode all the time. I know when I need to actively rest, and I know when I need to take a step back, even though I don't like it. Because relaxation, proper rest for your body, is going to help your mind, but you can't be slothful about it, right? Like, obviously, I'm not encouraging anybody to be slothful, but if you really want to have an impact on the world and be somebody, then you've got to make your presence felt. No matter where you are, no matter how you are, somebody's got to be making some kind of form of impression of you. And you do that just by bettering yourself. And what that entails and what that looks like is not always going to be explicitly laid out for you, but the domain in which you operate in for your apprehension is going to be entirely dependent upon how willing you are to submit to the Lord. And if you can submit to the Lord and you're capable of surrender, because surrender is a very important part of the process in which we have faith. If you cannot surrender, if you cannot give up trying to give up, it's kind of a ironic way to look at things, but still very true. If you cannot give up trying to give up, or not trying to give up rather, then what's going to happen is that the futility of your mind is going to be so wrapped up in wretchedness that you are not going to be able to untangle the strings of futility no matter what you do. And it's because of the decisions that you've made. And I will say that the only way that you can overcome that is through faith. You can't do that through knowledge. You can't do that through action sometimes. Sometimes it's just the act of faith. It's not really an action sometimes that you need to take. It's more of an act. Okay? You've heard Jordan Peterson, for example, say, well, you likely have, maybe you haven't, but he says, I act as if God exists. That's what that's faith right there. You have to act as if there actually is an omnipotent, omniscient being that is called or not called and present. And whether we like it or not, that being is present. And we don't always understand this kind of thing because our finite minds cannot understand the infinitudes. But this is why surrender is so important. This is why in your ability to yield, you become strong. Anybody read the Tao Te Ching? The Tao Te Ching, I'm just thinking about this now. The Tao Te Ching is one of the oldest Eastern philosophy books. And it talks a lot about, like, he who knows how to yield will know how to be victorious, or something like that. And this is something that maybe you even saw with George Washington if you're in the United States. George Washington, for example, if he knew that he was going to lose a battle, he would just not even fight. Which some people would say, oh, that's a coward. It's like, no, that's actually really wise. Because you don't want to enter into a battle that you know you're going to lose. Why would you fight? Because nobody really wins a fight anyway, to some degree. But at the same time, there's going to be people that rise up from it, and there's going to be people that fall from it. So you have to have the proper understanding and ways in which you analyze the situation, but also not analyze the situation. I see a lot of men, for example, trying to overanalyze and overthink things, and they react rather than respond. And they don't have the humility to say, maybe I don't know as much about this as I think I do. And me personally, whenever I come across something that I don't understand, my first instinct is not to critique, because why should I critique something that I don't understand? And why is that even fair for me to critique something I don't understand? People that critique things that they don't understand, I'm convinced they are just dead people walking. They are literally the walking dead. There's nothing that they can do to feel life in themselves apart from just denigrating people. But people that can critique, but also understand why it is that they're critiquing what they're critiquing, that's a different form of understanding the ways in which the world operates and how reality works. Because as the Bible says, whoever is corrected, like if a wise man is corrected, he's pleased, like he's thrilled about it. And I'm always thrilled when there's correction, because that means that I'm getting better. And of course, there's that egoic part of me, not an egocentric part of me, but the egoic part of me that wants to stand up for my principles or stand up for what I'm doing and saying, because I don't do things just to do things. I don't say things just to say things. Whenever I have a topic, for example, I don't just come on here and I'm going to stay to this topic and I'm not going to deviate from anything, because I'm going to have different things that come up as I'm speaking, that I just let the Holy Spirit move through me, and I pray that God's light shines through me so that people can feel the message and hear the message and do what they must be done, or do what they must so that they can do what must be done. It's getting late. So for me anyway, it's getting late. It's like, I don't know, 10:30 maybe where I'm at. And it's been a very busy but productive day. I've been doing a lot of strategizing, but I've also I made a post the other day about strategizing and how you could have been just living your life, but instead you were trying to strategize your way through it and live on other people's terms. There's nothing wrong with strategizing. There's nothing wrong with listening to people that have something good to say. Absolutely not. But if you are so caught up in trying to strategize or trying to think about thinking, you're just thinking about thoughts. You're not really having that act of faith or taking action. Now, at the end of the day, having an act of faith is going to be more important than anything else. But because that's how salvation comes about. But it is not the case that you are to implicitly denigrate your mode of being so much so that you cause a catastrophe for your own mind. Because if you cause a catastrophe for your own mind through this yearning to be egocentric and not wanting to learn things, like you're not receptive. Now there's a difference between being receptive and strategic, and also letting culture make an impression on you, because you can't really change culture without being impressionable to culture. But this is one of the reasons why if you want to make your presence felt, then it's important for you to be impressionable as well as have the ability to impress. Now, I don't mean like, you're trying to impress people. The only person you need to really impress is God. But by impressing, that's really my goal anyway. My goal is to try to impress God, so much so that, I don't know if I'll ever be able to do it, but man, wouldn't that be cool if you get on the other side and Jesus is saying to you, hey, you know what? You were supposed to do this, this, and this, and you did those things, and that's great. But you also did this, this, and this. I didn't need you to do that. I wanted you to do that, but I didn't need you to do that. And you still did it. Like, good job, bucko. Like, I don't know what Jesus would say exactly, but that's kind of how my, I guess that's my internal image of how funny and humorous Jesus could be in that situation, where he's just excited that you wanted to give more. And I think God rewards those kinds of people that have the ambition to give more, but it's not always about ambition, though. It's not always about trying to impress people, per se. And it's not always about being impressionable, but you have to have the capacity to be these things and to do those things. So I suppose then what I really want to drive home in this video is that if you want to make people feel something when they're around you, just be authentic. It really comes down to that. That is the most basic function in which you can live your life and make an impression on people that is going to be a good kind of impression. If you're investing in yourself enough to have outcomes for those investments, and everybody wants to have outcomes and results, right? But a lot of people don't want to do the things to get those results. And again, it's not about the results. It's not always about trying to get somewhere or be something or be somewhere. It's just about being. It's just about being who God made you to be. And that's what I mean when I say you could have just lived. Like, you could have just been, man. You could have just been who you are. That's all it takes. All it takes for God to be pleased with you is to be who he made you to be. Well, how do you know what God made you to be? Well, you kind of got to figure it out sometimes. Like, that's part of the wrestling with God, right? That's part of the understanding of the ways in which reality works, is that you have to have a personal relationship to God to understand what he's saying. And that's a beautiful thing, but it's also very tiresome to some people because they don't know how to have a personal relationship to God. They don't talk to God. They don't know God. I've had religious people who, like in the past, when I was trying to go to church, I don't go to church anymore. I think there are good churches out there. I think there are good churches out there, but most of them are just, they're caught up in the matriarchy and the patriarchy crap to like they're either too rigid in the masculine side, and they're like, even just being in their presence makes my spirit feel constricted, or it's like it's like this the matriarch with the overtly matriarchy controlling on the feminine side, where it's like psychological warfare is everywhere. It's like, oh, you guys are just gaslighting the crap out of everybody. This is nuts. Anybody that has seen psych hacks or heard of psych hacks, while I was making dinner, I listened to one of the latest videos that he has. It might have been a video from today, but it was just the latest video talking about why there's like a beta, why there's so many betas in power right now. And he did a great breakdown, fantastic breakdown of why this is. And he gave an analogy of Survivor, and he gave an analogy of why, like the TV show Survivor, the alphas and then the women and the betas were all like segregated, right? But it was basically men versus women in this whatever, I don't know what you call it, just this test. You know, the conditions were terrible, and the women realized that they couldn't beat the alpha men head on, like in a direct fight, so to speak, for understanding resources, how to gather food, how to just stay alive and survive. Women couldn't beat the men. But what the women did was, what they were able to do was manipulate the beta males into siding with them for the moment and emotionally manipulating the beta males to go against the alpha males so that they had no chance. So it was basically a numbers game. Then the alpha males were eliminated. And then when it came down to the matriarchs and like the overtly psychologically manipulative women and the betas, well, the women just casted out the betas because they didn't need the betas anymore. That's how the power structure works. And I was like, man, that is like government all over the world right now. You're seeing this, and you're seeing people indoctrinated all the time because of this. And it really, he just did, I really highly recommend people to go check that out, because it was a very brilliant breakdown of why it seems like there are not as many alpha males in society anymore, and especially in leadership positions. Because, man, like in the Regal Change Academy group that we have, there are alpha males in there that they are some of the smartest people I've ever met. And yet it's like society is trying to castrate us at every single turn. It's crazy. And it really is feeling like we're the last of the last. Like sometimes I get the sense that, man, we really are a dying breed. And I'm not really considering myself like an alpha or whatever. I understand that there's a practical, alpha beta mentality. Some people will say sigma, whatever. You know what, if you think that is the case, good for you. I don't think it's the case. I think there's just alphas and betas, and sometimes there are just alphas that are lone rangers. Okay, people say, well, that's a sigma. No, whatever. It's if you want to make up terms and it fits under your umbrella and you feel special about your identity, go for it. Okay, I used to think I was a sigma, but I realized it was just me wanting to have a certain identity. And I think that's what a lot of people are also going through and struggling with, is an identity crisis. And this is why society is screwed the way that it is. But, that's a whole different topic. But What I really wanted to mention though was just how the churches have become like that too with the women. Like the women, they've like destroyed the alphas in a lot of the churches. They've tried to, and the betas have helped them do so. The betas are the faithful, loyal servants of the women because they worship the woman. They worship the pink palace. That's all that they care about. All that they care about is being able to have sexual access. And I don't blame these people. I don't blame these guys, but man, what about bros before hoes, bro? Because a lot of these women are not the kinds of women you think they are. This is what's so crazy to me. It's like these men are fighting for women that would betray them in a heartbeat. Not even that. Like, they would betray them quicker than that. It's just crazy. It's bizarre. Like, the kinds of things that I've seen, the kinds of things that I've experienced, like, I've seen a lot. I would never say that I've seen it all anymore. Like, I used to think, oh, I've seen it all. I don't think so anymore. Like, I've seen a lot. But it's kind of like that circumference of knowledge that I've referred to before on this channel. It's like, the more your circumference of knowledge grows, the more your circumference of the unknown grows. And I've just reached a point to my circumference of knowledge that I know that I don't know. Like, there's just so much to know, and it's amazing. But it's also just, I'll know what I know, and I won't know what I don't know. My humility is intact, but I also have a healthy ego. And this is something a lot of people won't understand, is having a healthy ego is very important. And if you want to make yourself feel like be felt, and feel in general, I suppose, but if you want to make yourself be felt and have a presence where you are felt, you have to have a healthy ego. You really do. Because that means that you don't tolerate BS, and you have a backbone. You're willing to walk away from situations that don't serve you, and you're attracted to mindsets more so than anything else. All right? So I think with all that being said, I got everything I wanted to say in this video talked about. I do hope that it was a fruitful topic for you guys, and it was edifying or insightful in some way. If you do want to sign up for a free 15-minute call to check out the Regal Change Academy group that we have, check out the links in the description box below. And then also, if you want to have a one-on-one mentorship, check that out in the links in the description box below as well. I hope everybody has a blessed evening. I might upload this to just go out in the morning because it's pretty late for me. I'm about ready to hit the hay. I'll upload this and set it to go for the morning, and then I'm going to call it a night because it's been very busy. Very good, but very busy. So peace be with you all. Until next time.